Hello, everybody, and welcome to part two of our Week 15 weekly matchups for our Fantasy Football Touchback podcast. Once again, I am Chris. That is Megan. Thank you for joining us. We are in that final stretch, so without further ado, let's get to that schedule. How about that game last night, Megan?
Oh my goodness. It was a
Crazy.
crazy game, and I'm glad I didn't have to stay up for it.
I thought it was over once the Buccaneers went up by those two scores. So this just shows you never give up, never surrender. Um, but in this game, we might have that same kind of deal with the Cleveland Browns and the Chicago Bears. Shador Sanders getting his second start in the season, so that'll be really good. I expect them to kind of run the ball heavy here through Q Junkins, but I kind of expect the exact same thing out of Chicago. But really, Shador, he's just figuring it out. So let's see. Maybe Jerry Judy is going to help him out a little bit, but Q Junkins is definitely the person you're going to pull for.
Yeah, for sure. On the Chicago side, obviously, we've seen an amazing year from Chicago. They are in the NFC, at least for the time being. So we love Caleb Williams. Not going to be one of your best quarterbacks to pick or to have on your team, but definitely a good choice overall. Um, DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monange. Got it right this
Very good.
um they're pretty good at like sharing the ball as far as running it off. And Cleveland's defense is really they were doing so well at the beginning of the year, and now they've just kind of fallen apart. I have them on my fantasy team, and I finally was like, no, I am done with you. So they are now benched, at least for the moment. um Ramadunze is going to be our wide receiver this week. There was a chance that he was going to be injured, and it looks like he's going to play. So we also have Zacchaeus there, who is really um, a great wide receiver in his own right.
Good
So,
sleeper.
I,
Good sleeper.
yeah, I
If you,
really enjoy seeing him play. And you kind of forget about him, and then they say Zacchaeus, and I always want to sing the Sunday school song and whenever they say his name, and then we move on. But yeah, I like them both. Yeah, obviously
uh,
DJ Moore, Colston Loveland. You've never done that, Chris?
no, I've done it
Oh,
plenty of times. I just don't
yeah.
tell people about that. Good.
Well, that's what I do. And then the rest of the guys on that team, that I also would definitely start if I was playing Chicago versus Cleveland
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah, that Cleveland defense, they're not as stout as they used to be, but earlier in the year, but they're still they're gonna surprise people. So expect it's Chicago, so expect some wind, expect some weather, and we will go ahead and see if we get the same kind of weather in this next game in Cincinnati, which it's gonna be another big um division game. So Baltimore and Cincinnati, you have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. They are making a hard push for the playoffs. They are a game behind
Have to.
the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cincinnati lost to Buffalo last week. Therefore, they are everything but out of the playoffs. If they wanted to, everybody in that division has to lose out, and Cincinnati has to win out in order for
Right.
Cincinnati to make it. And just the expectation is just not going to happen. So, Baltimore's has more to fix in this game, which I expect Lamar to play big. But again, everyone's kind of counting out the Ravens in this game, so they have an excellent matchup against that Cincinnati defense. And Mark Andrews should have a big game if they follow the tight end protocol that Buffalo
Yeah.
used against Cincinnati.
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, Baltimore likes to run that ball. So I'm not really expecting them to necessarily pick up that tight end. We saw a lot with the Chiefs in previous years where everybody tried to bring in really great tight ends because the Chiefs had such success with them. But I don't necessarily think that this is the time to start brand new things for the Ravens when you're trying to hold on to playoff hopes. On the Cincinnati side, like Chris said, they really don't have a prayer to make the playoffs, so this game really doesn't count for them. But at the same time, Joe Burrow is back, and he needs to show that he belongs on this team and he can play better than he did last week. So, um, lots of good names here to try to put on your fantasy team. Joe Burrow, Chase Brown. Jamar Chase didn't do near as much last week as I expected him to. But we see about this week. And obviously, Gasecki on the tight. We're talking about tight ends. Like Gasecki is a madhouse last week, so I definitely would look into this as well.
Yeah, it was his breakout game last week because he's really
Hmm.
not done much with the injuries and all. But the big thing that I would say about the Cincinnati game, like we finally got a saying that T. Higgins is out. So we did talk about that in the injuries with the
Yeah,
concussion. They have ruled him out. So expect a lot of that production to just be overly focused on Jamar Chase from the Baltimore defense. So Gasecki is probably going to be a good pickup here, hopefully. All right, let's go off to Houston, where it's the Arizona Cardinals versus the Houston Texans. We got a lot of injury news here. Unfortunately, kind of just ruins Arizona's chances of doing anything productive in
if
this
they
game.
had a
Yeah, I
chance.
mean, Trey McBride's been unbelievable. And Marvin Harrison seemed to have been doing really well with Jacoby Brissett in there, but with him being rolled out today as well, you're going to get that Andre Bacchelia, however you're going to say his name,
Bacchelia.
and Michael Wilson. They're going to try, but really that Houston defense, because they are also in that playoff hunt. They're going to be just trying to hold strong with that their massive,
Yeah,
incredible defense.
yeah, for sure. Don't forget about Trey McBride on the Arizona side. He's probably the only guy that um
Yeah, I just don't think they're. I
really,
think they're just gonna cover him up, and not gonna be any production.
yeah, I that's valid. I really don't have anything else to say. Pretty much anybody on the side.
Yeah, Houston.
CJ Stroud has had a massive year. Favorite target is Nico Collins. Woody Marks has had some injuries. We'll see how well he plays, but both
He
him and Chubb
he has been cleared
are
off the injury.
okay. Good. Um, they were potentially on there earlier today or this week. Um, and so that's why I have however you pronounce that name. Try it.
Ogunbowale.
Ogobo Ogunbowale.
Ogunbowale. Yep, that took
Yeah,
me
that,
to get his name right, but we
I
got it.
bet. Yay.
Take it
Uh,
Pachelia, but
well,
Ogunbowale.
that's because you like. Um. Anyway, back on target. Uh, Nico Collins, like I said, Dalton Schultz, same deal. Houston all the way.
Agreed. All right, now for another matchup that's going to be a little bit less exciting. Um, the New York Jets versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville gonna go ahead and keep winning. If they can keep winning, they keep their seed. They're gonna go to the playoffs. The Jets are not gonna have Tyrod Taylor. He is out. Brady Cook is going to start. So the rookie is going to get his first start in the NFL. People are very excited. Brees Hall is essentially in I am going to shut it down for the year mode because the Jets are not in the playoffs. So and he is on a contract year, so he does not want to get injured. So expect Isaiah Davis to get a little bit more of touches there. And that's kind of it. Mason Taylor, he was ruled out as well today. So Jeremy Ruckert is going to get it. So it's going to be the first strings versus the third strings. Trevor
Yeah,
Lawrence should not have an issue playing. And then that's kind of where we're going to go from we're seeing in this game. The Jets defense, they're going to play hard nosed because they always do, but they just don't have the offense to keep up with Jacksonville.
I have nothing else to say about this
Yeah.
forward.
Or- Unfortunately, everything that we've told you about Jacksonville, that is kind of our where we want to stand on is because Travis Etienne, he's going to run well. Jacoby Myers, he's going to do well. Brian Thomas is probably going to get a touchdown. So, I mean, and Cam Little, he's fixed things and they're in Jacksonville. So, weather should be fairly nice, I would imagine. All
Yeah,
right. Who is our next game? We are going to Kansas City. Let's head.
this should be an interesting game.
Yeah. I agree. The Chargers and the Chiefs, they are obviously a division matchup. Kansas City, they lose this game, they're done. That's how serious it is
I
for
mean,
Kansas City.
they're pretty much done already.
Right. And it sounds like they've already given up.
Mhm.
But Los Angeles needs this game as much as Kansas City does.
Yes.
because they're only in a wild card because Denver's ahead of them. So really, this is a bigger game for Los Angeles than it is for Kansas City, even though this is essentially an elimination game for Kansas City, which is crazy to think about. I'm gonna try not to smile so much while thinking about it, but it does make me want to smile. Um, Justin Herbert playing not as good as he was playing at the beginning of the year, but he's still playing fairly solid. Solid. Kamani Vidal, guys, I'm telling you right now, if he is out there and you're in a franchise league, he should have already been picked up. But pick him up. Marion Hampton, yes, he did come back. Yes, he's gonna get his touches, but they are using that two-headed backfield just to absolutely run over everybody. Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnson, like we say every week, is a toss up which one's going to get it, but somebody you know that's always going to be able to get at least target is going to be Lav McConkey. And then Megan's favorite kicker is Cameron Dicker, the kicker. So, I mean, you can never go
He's
wrong
so
there.
good.
I mean, it's just a fun name to say. But that's
And we've
really
established that I like fun names.
that's very, very, very. I like nicknames with two-headed monsters and all that other kind. So it's a good dynamic. But big game, huge game for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. But yeah, who do you expect is gonna do fairly well with Kansas City this week, Meg?
I really feel like the Xavier Worthy Patrick Mahomes team is going to be the one to watch. I feel like Rashee Rice and Travis Kelsey have really not shown what they can do. And I currently have Pacheco on my fantasy team and I haven't played him all year because he's getting like 5 points a game. And it's nothing compared to my other running backs that I could start. So um definitely want to stick with the worthy. I'm also off the train on Harrison Butker because he's really inconsistent lately.
Yep, yep, yep. Consistency is the name of the game, and Kansas City is not doing it. So
True.
why you don't make the playoffs? Unlike the next game that we do have, the Buffalo Bills versus the New England
I knew
Patriots.
it. I knew it.
Yeah, who would have thought? Like we've talked about. Um, this is probably one of the top three games of the weekend. I am really surprised this game did not get flexed.
Cover
No, nope,
thing.
nope. They know this. They know where I stand on it. We're good. I
But
I c-
you're
I can be. I could absolutely be unbiased here. Um, it just so happens I do get to talk about Buffalo this week, and you have to talk about the Patriots. So good luck spinning that. But I will say Buffalo's going to come in here with a tad bit of revenge on their mind. They got embarrassed by New England, and while the Bills were wearing nice new jerseys and in Buffalo, and now Buffalo's
nice
looking
New Jerseys.
well. It was the rivalry jerseys, and it was
We're gonna
a
stay super objective, but this is the only team that I'm going to talk about their jerseys.
I mean,
Go
this
ahead.
the rivalry jerseys. This is the things that you remember from their first meeting. Anyway, the Buffalo Bills are going to come in here with a fire. They are looking up at the New England Patriots, the AFC East. Everybody and the brother is picking, and the Patriots should go ahead and give Buffalo a fight. I
That's
think.
not what I've heard.
Well, they believe Buffalo's going to win, but they think New England's still going to get a fight, and they're talking about if New England ends up winning this game, then all bets are off, and Buffalo is off the wagon. And so I don't think we're going to see um obviously Buffalo lay down. We do know Buffalo is
Can't.
just a November December team. Um, January at least part of it they have been no one can beat them unless you're the Chiefs. And so that's kind of where Buffalo has stood last few years. And Josh Allen, we saw the Superman cape last week. Since this is a fantasy football podcast, we're going to talk about players. Josh Allen
Oh,
is got concept right. But with him, he put on the Superman cape. He just announced that he is going to be a father. So that is something that
I did not hear
yeah,
that.
they just announced it probably about 3 hours ago. It's a very cute video. You should see the announcement picture. You would think it's a very Buffalo. Put it that way.
Again, we're
I,
an objective
I know.
podcast.
Everybody has certain bias, but it's okay. We will be objective. I'm not saying that you should start every single Bills player, because you should not start every single Bills player. James Cook, he has people say, hey, he's been doing great. He's been running the ball great. Have you seen what James Cook's done over the last few weeks? He's fumbled the ball multiple times. He has not rushed for as many yards as he was doing at the beginning of the year, because I'm afraid, is kind of the tires are kind of light on the tread, and so I think the Bills might try to go ahead and use that tight end plan that they did against the Bengals last week. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where the plan is here. You are not really going to have much of Khalil Shakir underneath. You're not going to see Keon Coleman. Gabe Davis will probably have a decent game here, simply because he can stretch the field with Joshua Palmer. But I really think that Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, that combination is really going to be the key for Buffalo here. Go ahead if you're going to snag anybody. But granted, you have any of the Bills players, they're at least worth a flex position. But I would not expect them to put up monster numbers this week.
Josh Palmer did not practice today, but he was cleared from the like he was on questionable and then he was taken off and then he hasn't been put back on. So I don't know if he wasn't like a rest
Yeah,
something, but
veteran rest day or something.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Um, on the New England side, so Chris tried to speak to this a little bit. New England has the division. If Buffalo loses this game, they fall further and further behind in the wild card. But if they win this game, they have a chance to take the division if they continue to win out and New England to lose out. So again, huge game for Buffalo, but New England doesn't have a lot to prove other than the fact that they got to be the division leader this year and they haven't done that since 2019. Ridiculous. Um, I haven't seen a lot from Buffalo's defense changing since the last time Buffalo saw New England. It's still really, really sloppy secondary, waiting for them to catch the ball and then tackling them. So we're seeing lots of first downs and then not a lot of yardage. It just doesn't feel like we've done anything to fix the problem of Stephon Diggs, which, again, if you have any history of Buffalo, you know there's a big problem between Buffalo and Stephon Diggs as far as he has a chip on his shoulder and the Bills really didn't want to lose him but had to. Um, Drake May MVP practically this year, probably this year. Um, when we talk about the Bills and their run defense, it's actually okay. So I wouldn't expect the running backs to do super well this week. But Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, going to have a good game.
So we'll go ahead and we'll see. This is obviously the most interesting game for both Megan and I to watch, for multiple reasons. But we're going to take a quick little break and we'll be right back after. Make sure to like and subscribe now. Now for the Washington Commanders versus the New York Giants. I almost called them the other team. Um, this game, honestly, you're going to have people make plays, but it's just, again, not going to be someone to be really worried about or say I have to start him right away, because nobody in this game is going to be playing lights out. No one on Washington, at least. So the defense might do something against a soft New York Giants. Do you have anybody to
Yeah.
talk about on the Giants, Megan?
No. I
Well,
mean, we have our typical like Jackson Dart, but
Robinson.
I'm just not there's no point to this game. So good luck to both teams.
If you have them on your team, they're probably on your bench. Probably should keep them on your bench. So that's kind of where we fall on this. The next game, there's only one team falls underneath that, and that's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And you shouldn't touch any of your. No, I'm joking. Your Raiders, Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers. That's it. Daniel Carlson. It depends on the weather. He's a really good dome kicker. They got Kenny Pickett starting at quarterback. So really, the wide receivers aren't going to really do much for the Vegas. So expect them to rely on the running back, and Philadelphia's I would expect that. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody,
Yeah.
anyone on Philly that you're not happy about? Let's try that because we could essentially say all of those guys are starter worthy.
Yeah. 100%. Like Philadelphia has not been the team they have been in the past, but at the same time, when you look at the other players that you could choose from, definitely good pickups or like playable starter people that you definitely use. So definitely pick up, or I cannot stop. Definitely play Philadelphia team members this week. They're going to do amazing.
So nice and quick, easy on that one. We'll have a little bit more meat on the bones with this game in Denver. The Packers and the Broncos. I will take the Packers here. As Josh Jacobs should be playing. He is questionable. If he does not play, that changes the entire dynamic. They will have they will have the rookie running the ball for Green Bay, but I would expect their game plan to be completely pass, pass, pass. And that means Christian Watson. That means Golden. That means Romeo Dobbs. Brandon McManus. This is an underrated expectation. McManus, the former Broncos kicker, returning to Denver, knows how to kick in the Denver weather in December. So that is
It's
something
going to
that,
be beautiful. There is no Denver weather.
okay, well, then there you go. Lucky for Will Lutz. But he still can kick it in, and he has a record, or he used to own the record in Denver for. So that
Yeah.
is something where I mean, really nice weather according to Megan. Jordan Love should not have a issue with this game. We just got to see if the Green Bay wants to play like we know that how they can play, because they're kind of have a hot and cold team. Right now, they're on a hot streak. So is Denver. What do you have to say about them?
Gosh, the Green excuse me, the Green Bay Bears game last week was crazy. Um I was unfortunate that about the Bears losing, but it was a great game. I was really happy to see both teams play well. Like Chris said, I am in Denver, so I know that Denver's going to have a beautiful day on Sunday. Um, we love Bo Nix. We think that Bo Nix is going to continue to be the player that he is. He gets that ball out quick, and he has lots of targets to throw it to, or to hand it off to. Cortland Sutton for me is still very on the fence. I feel like his consistency is just not there. And I would definitely be more on the Marvin Mims side. Um, as far as Little Jordan Humphrey, I added him this week because he really showed that he was wanting to play in Denver and last week, and we haven't seen a lot of that before. So he's trying to make a name for himself, which I think is important with the other three guys that are starting in Denver. And then on Evan Ingram, Denver uses him a lot, but it's really hit or miss. Like it's more of a, hey, by the way, we have a tight end and he's going to do something amazing, not somebody that you want to start for tight end um, in your fantasy team because it's not a consistent showing, even though he's great.
Are you worried about Micah Parsons against that Denver offensive line?
No, I think that Micah Parsons is fast, and I think that he um is I just don't think that Bo Nix is going to hang on to the ball that much. He really doesn't. He usually gets a plan together and changes it on the fly. If it's not looking like he's going to get what he initially put out there to do. Um, so I'm not really expecting Micah Parsons to have much to rush this week, and I they play so deep that it's not going to be a Micah.
Another cool little fact about this game: you have Denver being the number one seed. Um, if Denver wins, they obviously stay the number one seed. But if they lose, they potentially could lose the number one seed as well. But Green Bay, if they win, they potentially can go become the number one seed if the Rams lose. So both of them are. This is the game for home field advantage. it is something that both teams are in grasp of, and hopefully they will go ahead and we'll have a good one. Old Super Bowl matchup. So I always like seeing these. On Elway Brett. Another good game that we were talking about, and speaking of the Rams, are the
And that
Detroit
division.
Lions. Yeah, well, and this is really Detroit needs this game to make the playoffs, which again, they were the darlings of last year,
Mm.
and people love
And early
Detroit.
this year.
hmm They love Detroit, and then you looked at the standings 3 weeks ago, and you're like, "Oh shoot, Detroit is not in the standing, is not in the playoffs. They better get it together." And unfortunately, they've not been able to gain any ground to get into those playoffs. So the Detroit's going to come in here hoping to actually get the win, and they have the team to do it. Amir Gibbs, David Montgomery. We've talked about them numerous times. Both of these teams have been fairly healthy, so I just think it's going to be a close game.
A good
Personally,
game. Yeah.
I think
100%.
I think Ross St. Brown's going to have a decent game. I think Jameer Gibbs is going to have a decent game. Um, it's gonna
Weather is not going to be an issue.
obviously because they're in a semi dome.
So I
Um,
know. Dome light.
Stone Light. That's what we decided on months ago. But I mean, really, it's just going to come down to if it's who can create the turnovers, and my money would be on Los Angeles personally.
Yeah, they're at home. Matt Stafford has had a stellar year, and Kyron Williams was not doing super hot like middle of the season, but it seems like he's coming back a little bit. Puka had that big injury, and he's recovered, as far as I can tell. And then obviously Devontae Adams. Yeah, I think I would pick Los Angeles if I was to bet on this game, but both of these teams, the players on these teams are going to do well.
I think
I'll tell
it's
you right now.
yeah, I think it's a desperation game for Detroit, and I think LA they just want to keep going, especially if they see that Denver is loses that game and Green Bay wins because they do not want to give up that number one. All right, let's go ahead and finish this up almost in a few more games. We have the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers next. We are in New Orleans for this one. Carolina can take over the division with the Buccaneers losing last night. Carolina's fate is in their own hands, which
Yeah.
is insane. Considering that when I went to that Carolina Bills game earlier in the year, never would have thought that Carolina with that team would win their division. It's crazy. So Rico Dowdle has really turned around that team with that run game. And Chuba Hubbard, he just signed that contract, but talk around here in Carolina is that they are the Panthers going to pay Rico Dowdle all that money, or are they going to let him go and he's going to get a big contract somewhere else because he only signed a 1 year. So it's either keep him, trade Chuba, or let him go and get a comp pick. So we'll see. But yeah, I kind of expect the run game to be the story here, Carolina, and their defense.
Yeah, for sure. On the other side, with Alvin Kamara, you said he was out, Chris. That they
Yeah,
officially said he was not going to play.
they announced that he was out today.
Okay, so same thing with Alvin Kamara out. There's going to be no run game in New Orleans, which means that Tyler Shuck is going to have to throw that ball. Um, he doesn't run it himself. Chris Olave, not the most consistent guy, has the potential, but it's
He'll be on a new
hit or
team
miss.
next year.
Yeah, 100%. And then Juwan Johnson, same thing. Like I I don't expect this to be a good game. I was surprised at last week's game how well they did, but I don't expect that it's either going to be a high scoring game or Carolina's going to run away with it.
Yeah. Let's hope it's not a high scoring game because I think I'm gonna use Carolina's defense. Uh, that versus or Buffalo's defense. I think Carolina's defense.
IFC.
Colts, Seattle.
Oh my gosh, I have Seattle. We're about to talk about them.
Now you guys are starting to see where why our teams are in the playoffs here. Um, the Colts luckily are going to get Riley Leonard back because and thankfully they don't have to start the 44-year-old quarterback. Um,
Even
but
though he will drop.
yes, he will dress. I love how we're not saying his name because I can't believe he pulled a Brett Favre and came out of retirement. The year he was a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame. Think about that. Philip Rivers was a semifinalist to make the Hall of Fame this year, a process that you have to wait 5 years to get into and without playing, and now he has to wait another 5 years because he's dressing. So it's just it's remarkable. We'll call it remarkable.
Remarkable is
Anyway,
a great word for it.
Jonathan Taylor. uh, Jonathan Taylor, the only person that Riley Leonard is going to be able to rely. Because they're going to make sure that Pittman doesn't do anything, Alec Pierce doesn't do anything, Tyler Warren won't do anything, and Groupie won't be able to make a kick in Seattle. They're not going to be close enough, and if they do get close enough, Seattle has a great defense and special teams to block those kicks. So really, Jonathan Taylor is the only hope for Indianapolis to keep their playoff hopes alive. I mean, they are in desperation, but it's also we're kind of waving the white flag, but everybody knows they're in desperation because you brought back a 44-year-old quarterback. So that's my thought on Indianapolis Colts. I don't have much more on that, and it looks like you're pretty much saying that, yeah, yeah, thinking the complete opposite for Seattle. Start everybody.
Well, I just feel bad for Indianapolis. They had such a great start to the year and they just fell apart. And now with Jones, Daniel, not being able to play and potentially not even starting next year, like that's
He's not
a
under
really big hit
contract.
for them. Yeah.
I mean, that's the
It's
that's the huge thing, the horrible thing about Daniel Jones, especially for everybody who owns him in our franchise leagues. Pointing at this guy. Um,
I'm not
he
pointing at me, I'm here.
Thank you. Um, it's just we don't know where Daniel Jones is going to be, and later in the next couple months, once we do recaps, we'll get all over that type of thing. So we won't really delve into it now. But yeah, I mean it's real unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay, from Seattle, Sam Darnold. Kind of a middle of the pack quarterback, unfortunately, but he's going to be able to run away with the ball and or throw it and or hand it off to Kenneth Walker the second or Zach Charbonnet, just because Indianapolis is not going to be able to touch them from a defensive standpoint. He also has JSN and Cooper Cup and Sheed. Like there's everybody on this team has potential, and it's almost a situation where Sam has too many people to give it to, and who's going to do well in this play against Indianapolis, where they don't have a lot of people that are you know covered or messed with or whatever. It's going to be a game where Darnold will probably do well, but I kind of expect them to hand off the ball, share the ball in Seattle this week. So I start Sam if you have no other choice, and probably JSN
Yeah, I think
because
JSN's a absolute lock in for this
yeah.
week, and really, I mean Sam
I just don't
Darnold.
see them getting high number. Like it's not really going to be something they can um rely on. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Sam and
think
Bucks.
I think you're gonna face one of two things with Indianapolis. If they get about ahead of Indianapolis by, let's just say, 10 points, then I think Indianapolis shuts down and says, "Woe is me."
Yeah.
And then Seattle's just gonna run away with it because we've seen them run away with games.
And I could see them sitting their starters
Yeah, once they get locked in, I agree.
because we're
But
starting to get to the end of the season where they're going to be doing that because they want to make sure that these teams that they're staying healthy for
well,
playoffs.
well, and here's the biggest thing to notice about Seattle is that they're in the same division as the Rams, right? So the Rams are winning that division, and
Right.
Seattle's close behind. So if they want to even have a chance, the Rams lose one game, then Seattle's right there.
But they're
So
gonna win this game no matter what. So why take
they
the
you're gonna
potential hit to
so
your
they're
starters?
you're gonna probably see them rest them in the fourth quarter if they're up that much.
That's
But
what I'm saying.
oh, but
Like, I expect the starters to start. I do not expect them to play the entire game if Indianapolis is going to be as bad as we expect.
yeah. So that I mean, and that's a good point to think about going into, especially with all these playoff games going. All right, we are going to go to our final game in San Francisco. It is everybody's favorite matchup in San Francisco, and how much do I love talking about the Tennessee Titans? Well, who can play well for the San Francisco 49ers, Megan?
Christian McCaffrey. Also Ricky Pearsall, also Javon Jennings, Kendrick Bourne. Like George Kittle tend to be on the field. Um, Everybody on San Francisco again is going to same thing as all of these other games that we're looking at. This week is a week of really good teams against teams that have fallen apart or have been terrible from the start, right?
Yeah, they're
There are
out
a
of the
few
playoffs. They're
really
not thinking about it. Yeah,
yeah, there's a couple of really good matchups mixed in there, but really play the San Francisco guys because Tennessee is they're gonna walk the field with Tennessee.
that's pretty much all really what we have to say about this game. I mean, Cam Ward was impressive last week getting the win, but we don't really foresee them doing much more. So San Francisco's a good play here. Christian McCaffrey's an absolute lock. And then maybe George Kittle will score another touchdown.
We'll see. Yeah, I need to see more from him.
All right, so that is going to conclude our part two of the week 15 matchups. Thank you again for joining us for part two. Check out the comments. Make sure that you are invested in those for those injuries on Sunday. Either I will go ahead and comment on there, Megan will go ahead and comment on there on who's in, who is out per game, per team. And where else can they find us, Megan?
Also on X, we do the same sort of thing where we're doing injury updates or any really big news updates on X. And I don't know if your Insta account does anything for us, but it's a CTW on it, so I would assume that has something to do with it. Um, Thanks everybody. Like Chris said, we really appreciate you hanging in there with us this year and liking and subscribing. Uh, Chris, you want to throw us out?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like we always say, nobody circles the wagons.
Like CTW.
Have a good weekend, guys. Good luck. We'll see you when the playoffs start.